Okay, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to lecture 18 of natural language processing. Today, we will continue with our discussion on word2vec, which is a implicit representation that is learned from running text for words. We will discuss some of the properties of such representations. And then we will discuss the neural network architecture that is used for learning these representations, as well as how neural network can be used for language modeling. So previously we had studied language modeling from a purely probabilistic perspective. So now we're going to see briefly how a neural network can be used to learn a language. And if we have time, we will then start with two applications, common applications in NLP. One is POS tagging and the other is named entity recognition. Both of these are sequence classification problems. So this would lead us to the whole classification issue of classifying sequences. And so that is basically the agenda for today. So I have I have informed you regarding the next deadline for your project. The next deliverable is a report which would outline your project, the literature that you have reviewed for that project, and the methodology that you're going to implement for the project. So the deadline is the end of this month. So please start working on your project. And if you have any questions or things to discuss, please talk with me or with the TA. Okay. So any questions? Any questions or comments? All right, so I guess there are no questions. So let's get started. So we were discussing word2vec, which, as the name suggests, is a technique for mapping words to their vectorial representations. So this is an example of learning representations, or in other words, trying to learn a representation for anything, in this case, a word from data. So we don't really do feature engineering, which is explicit representation. Here we are talking about implicit representation that is learned from data. So in word2vec, we use a predictive framework for learning these representations. So we have a predictive model, and what we do in this predictive model, we have a target word. Given a target word, we want to predict its context word. So input is a target word, the output is context word. And so in both input and output, of course, the number of variety of words that we have is equal to the vocabulary. So in this way, this is like a multi-class classification problem. The number of classes at the output layer is equal to the number of words in the vocabulary. Okay. So we discussed a two-layer neural network for this architecture. Two-layer means that there is one hidden layer. Okay, na? So we talked about this last time. So the input is X in general for any neural network, and the output is Y. Okay. So X is the target word. So let me, and obviously these input output pairs are drawn from natural writings. Okay, so let's say if I have a sequence of words, Lahore is a city of, for example, gardens. Although I don't know if this is entirely true or not, but this has been used in natural writings. So we will take, so from such training examples, we can, from such data or corpus, we can develop our training examples. So for example, okay, so if I take Lahore as the target word, the context word, for example, is, which is occurring immediately afterwards. The context word, of course, is defined by a window of plus n and minus n words around the target word. So for this example, let's say +1 and -1. Okay. So let's say, so this is, are there any other context word for Lahore? At least for this example or this small data set, there is none. So then another context word is, then is, we have Lahore as the output context word. So is has another context word, which is A. Then we have a target word A. So Lahore is a, so is a context word. So A का एक और जो context word होगा city होगा, ठीक है. Then we have the target word city. City का context word होगा A, and then city का context word off होगा, and then off, and then so on. I hope you understand this. So this is the data that we use. And for the input X we use one hot encoding, which means that we have a vector of length, vocabulary size, and we have a value of 1 for the position represented, or for the position of this particular word. So let's say if you have, in this particular example, how many distinct words do we have? Although it's a very small example, Lahore is a city of gardens. Lahore is a city of gardens. I think 6 words. Okay. Lahore is a city of gardens. So 6 words. So vocabulary size is 6. So, and let's say I take the same order for the positioning of the words. So if I want to represent Lahore, this representation would be 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, and 0. This is the vector for Lahore. Similarly, let's say if I want to represent is, so this will be 0, 1, 0. Okay. So this is one hot encoding. Obviously, you notice that it is an extremely sparse, but as long as you have lots of data and for training, this doesn't make a big difference, especially in many NLP tasks. ठीक है. So ये हमारे पास input encoding हो गया. And then output, of course, in general, I'll start with the softmax. So Y is also of size vocab. ठीक है. In this case, 6. And we, since this is multi-class classification problem, the vocab, we will be using a softmax. Okay, so softmax, of course, I'll change this a bit shortly, and I'll explain why we will use the other approach. But let's go with the softmax. Okay, so given this, so we have our matrices W. So W, we define the notation 1x, and then of course we have B1, and then we have W, Y1, and of course B2. So these are the parameters for the neural network, for the hidden layer and for the output layer. Okay. So once the network is trained, these parameters would be fixed and trained on what? The data that I have shown you above. And what do we minimize? The cross entropy And what are we classifying? It's a multi-class classification problem. We are trying to predict the context word given a target word. Okay? So we have 6 classes for this small example, 6 classes as potential output for any given target word. Okay? So once this matrix is learned, these parameters are learned, our embeddings are then derived directly from these weight matrices, Ws. Okay? So W 1x is of size, in the example that we had, actually we didn't define the size of the input layer, but let's say, so let's say 3 by 6. So input is 6, and let's say hidden layer size is 3. Okay? And this hidden layer size defines the length of the vector that you will get for your particular word. So this is the embedding size. Okay? So originally हमारा जो one hot encoding का vector था, it was of size 6, which was sparse. We now are going to get dense embeddings of size 3. Okay? So we have 6 columns of this matrix. So each column would represent the embedding. For example, embedding for Lahore is given by the first column of W1x. Okay? Because that was the position that we used to index Lahore. So similarly, if you want to get the embedding for IS, that would be the second position. If you want to get the embedding for the word gardens, that would be the last 6th column of this matrix W. Okay? And this matrix, as I said, would be dense. There would be very few zeros or no zeros at all. And the values would in general be positive as well as negative. Okay? So actually in this setting, you also get another embedding. So the embedding that we got from the first matrix is often called the input embedding. But you also get another embedding from the second matrix, WY1. So इसमें भी उसी तरह ही ordering हो रही है, because now we are getting the output layer, और output layer में भी कितने थे हमारे पास nodes? वही 6 थे, and those 6 correspond to our words. So similarly, इसके जो भी columns हैं, they also correspond to words. So हमारे पास एक और embedding यहाँ से भी आ सकती है. So लाहौर की जो embedding is basically first column. And similarly, is की embedding second column होगी, gardens की embedding last column होगी, 6th column. So we have 2 embeddings. So this, as I said, is the output embedding. Okay? So which embedding to use? Actually, there isn't any consensus. We can use any one of those. Usually the first one is preferred. But if you want to use both in some way, we take the average of the 2. Okay? So average, of course, is the simple average. Sum the 2 elements in the 2 vectors and divide by 2. Okay? So any questions so far? Now I'll basically discuss some properties of embeddings, and then we'll go back to the neural network and I'll show you a feed-forward operation in the neural network. Any questions so far? All right, so we have obtained dense representations for our words, dense as well as short. what should be the size of the embeddings? Usually, in practice, the size would vary from 50 to about 1000. Okay? So as you can see, this is quite short. If you had developed a representation using the word by word representation that we talked about earlier, you will get a size of tens of thousands, which is equal to the vocabulary size. So now it is 50 to 100 or 1000, and it's capturing the syntactic as well as semantics of words as it is written in natural language, as it is used by tons of people, and as captured in the writings of that language. Okay? And the good thing about this is pre-trained embeddings are often available. So for example, Word2Vec embeddings are already available on the web. They have trained it on large amounts of data, including the Wikipedia, including books and stuff like that. And you can simply use those embeddings, just download them from the web and use it in your applications. Okay? So this is really nice. So you don't have to do the training yourself and just download it. And of course, these embeddings are also available for many other languages as well. I think for almost all resource-rich languages like French, German, whatever, you do have embeddings. And there are also embeddings for less known languages. Even Urdu ke liye bhi kuch mil jati hain. But of course, they are not trained on very large amounts of data. But they are available and you can use them in your applications. Okay? So this was a little bit of embeddings. Now, what is exactly an embedding? As we said, let's say if you have a 50 length embedding, this basically represents that you are representing a word in 50 dimensional space. Okay? So if you are able to somehow visualize a 50D space, this word would be a point in that space. And that point, a line from the origin of that space to that point would be the vector that is represented by this vector. Okay? So you have a vector from the origin to that point. So this is a vector. Each word is thus represented by a point, and of course, a vector from the origin to that point. And as we said before, if two words are similar or related, strongly related, they will be close by in that space. And one way of quantifying that relatedness is using the cosine similarity. So we are actually capturing relatedness in general. True synonymy capture nahi ho rahi, we are just capturing relatedness. And relatedness may means closeness with respect to various semantic fields, not just synonymy. Okay? So given two vectors, you can compute the similarity or relatedness using the cosine, which is the angle between the two vectors. Okay. So you can study the word and their usages in different contexts. So you can, for example, study the historical use of words. So for example, let's say you learn embeddings from writings in the 1800s, all the writings that were written in the 1800s. Learn the embeddings for all the writings that were written in the 1900s. Learn the embeddings for all the writings that were written in the 2000s. And then you compare those embeddings. Okay? So through this, you can kind of do historical linguistic to see how languages have evolved over time, how words and the usages have evolved over time. Okay? So, for example, So, for example, the word Lavat, I don't know how you pronounce that, but this is an old English word, and this might be found in, for example, the writings of Shakespeare and people in the 18th, 19th, and 20th century, for example. But if you took writings from, let's say, more recent times, you would never find this word, और उसका usage भी different होगा, ठीक है? Similarly, for example, among is a word, but some people, and they still use this, amongst. This variation, I think it has reduced over time. Now people always use among rather than amongst. ठीक है? So इस तरह की आप analysis कर सकते हैं by learning embeddings over different corpora. ठीक है? And of course, this is historical analysis over time. So you can do various things. For example, there could be various examples here. Anyway, I think I don't want to spend too much time because all of this is kind of descriptive analysis. Once you have the data, you can spend time over the data, look at the embeddings, compare their cosines, and study how those words are used over time. So you can do that. Similarly, you can do cultural as well, cultural analysis of language, for example. Okay? So different cultures use words differently. So for example, words like fabulous. Oops. So fabulous or is kind of more commonly used in British English, or British people or people who have an influence from the British domain, for example, even Pakistan and maybe some African countries. So fabulous is more commonly used. But fabulous, I would say, is less commonly used or popular by the American English people. They will use things like excellent or maybe some other words. So इस तरह की चीजें आप कल्चरल लिंग्विस्टिक आप भी डिस्कस कर सकते हैं या अंडरस्टैंड कर सकते हैं, एनालाइज कर सकते हैं. And then finally a bit about bias. So you can also look at biases from, you can also understand biases by looking at the word embeddings. So for example, if you compare female words, like female as a word or woman as a word, you will find greater similarity of these words with occupations like nurse, for example. While if you look at male, you will find greater similarity with words with occupations like programming, for example, or engineer, for example. So these are, you can say, biases, but these biases were encoded in the writings from which you had learned these embeddings. Okay, na? So in other words, the data from which you are learning these embeddings were biased in this way, and that information got encoded into the embeddings as well. Okay? So people have actually studied this in quite detail because bias and discrimination and these things are now more important. And they have also proposed ways of kind of reducing this bias in the embeddings that you have learned from data. So maybe I can just quickly mention one quick way of how to reduce this bias. Okay. So for example, let's say I wanted to minimize gender bias. Okay. So gender bias may, I will first look at all the words that kind of relate to gender. So for example, he is for male, man, for example, father, his, him, and all these words that are related to male, and similarly for female, she, mother, even sister, उस तरह मेल के भी होंगे, and so on. So each of these words would have some embeddings, ठीक है? And so let me maybe use okay. So let's say फॉर एग्जाम्पल हम एक वर्ड नर्स की बात करते हैं. नर्स का वेक्टर लेट्स से ये है, दिस इज नर्स. सो यू विल फाइंड दैट नर्स एज अ वेक्टर is closer to vectors for, let's say, female than for male. Male, let's say, इधर है, ठीक है? So which means that there is a bias of nurse towards female than to male. So इसको आप किस तरह kind of address कर सकते हैं? One very simple way is, I'm going to delete it again because I see one way is, let's say ये मेरे पास मेल का वेक्टर है और ये मेरे पास फीमेल का वेक्टर है. इन दोनों वेक्टर का आप एक कॉमन वेक्टर बीच में ढूंढ लें, ठीक है? इट विल बी समथिंग लाइक दैट मिडल में. नाउ जो भी नर्स है, इफ यू वांट टू अनबायस्ड नर्स, नर्स इधर थी, इसको आपने इसके ऊपर प्रोजेक्ट कर देना है, बिकॉज नाउ दिस वेक्टर जो हमने ढूंढा है मेल और फीमेल के दरमियान, दिस इज एग्जैक्टली बिटवीन मेल एंड फीमेल. अब जो नर्स जो पहले फीमेल के करीब था, उसको हमने उसके ऊपर प्रोजेक्ट कर दिया और वो वाला वेक्टर फिर हमने नर्स के लिए यूज किया, एंड दैट वेक्टर वुड देन बी, और then will be kind of de-biased or unbiased version of nurse. So do you get this idea? I know कि ये diagram मेरी कोई इतनी अच्छी नहीं होगी. So let me do it again. Let's say ये मेरे पास, just follow my speaking and my writing. So ये मेरे पास female है, ये let's say मेरे पास male है. First of all इन दोनों का हमने middle vector ढूंढ लिया parallelogram approach से. अब लेट्स से कोई भी मेरे पास और वेक्टर है दैट वाज बायस्ड टुवर्ड वन ऑफ दोस टू, उसको हमने इस मिडिल वेक्टर के ऊपर प्रोजेक्ट करके नया वेक्टर ढूंढ लिया, ठीक है? सो लेट्स से मेरे पास जो मिडिल वेक्टर ये आ रहा है और मेरे पास एक कोई वेक्टर ये था, इसको मैंने इसके ऊपर प्रोजेक्ट करके ये वेक्टर मैंने उसका बना लिया, ठीक है? सो दिस इज ए वे ऑफ अनबायसिंग सम रिप्रेजेंटेशंस. So is there any question here? So, okay, so the whole idea of this was trying to tell you about word embeddings do contain a lot of information, and using those embeddings, you can go deeper into language and understand various aspects. Historical linguistic कर सकते हैं, cultural linguistic कर सकते हैं, biases in writings discuss कर सकते हैं, and so on. Finally, word analogy can also be kind of understood using word embeddings. Although this is not entirely true, 100% ये चलता नहीं है, but in the initial days when word embeddings became popular in 2013-14, so people came up with these analogies. They were quite excited about it, but later on we found out that analogies don't really work always. So what were they trying to find out? I mean, what did they find out then? So for example, so there's an analogy between, for example, man and let's say king, for example. So king is kind of related to a man because a king is always a man. So given this, so let's say if I say female, if I have a word female, so by analogy, that would be as similar to the word queen. And all of this I'm saying in the context of word representations, which is vectors. Okay? So in other words, so 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 depending on, you can develop some simple algebraic relationship. So for example, female plus or you can say, actually as I said, it's hard and fast science. For example, if I say king minus female would give you a vector that is close to queen. ठीक है ना? You take the vector of king, subtract the vector of female, you will get a vector that is very close to the vector for king. Because obviously king is not a female, it's going to be a male. Okay? So इस तरह की analogies can also be seen in the word embeddings that you have learned. Okay? Okay. Any questions so far? Acha. So last time I think someone asked quickly a feed forward step बता दें neural network का, तो let me just do that using MATLAB. So let's say हमारे पास वही जो original problem मैंने जो बताई थी वो है. वो problem क्या थी? Basically आपके पास x था और y था. Both of them were of size 6. ठीक है? तो जो W हमारे पास जो बन रहे थे वो हमारे पास बन रहे थे 3/6 के बन रहे थे. ठीक है? B of course for the hidden layer B1, the first hidden layer का इसका size था 3. B2 of course was 6 because B2 is output layer. Output layer में 6 nodes हैं. ठीक है? And essentially that is it. So let's say hidden layer में sigmoid use हो रहा है. Output layer में of course softmax है. अच्छा, by the way एक और चीज भी मैंने डिस्कस करनी थी. खैर, anyway I'll come back to that. ठीक है? Okay, now let me okay. So now let me so initially you will have to initialize your matrices, the parameters of the network, and of course after you have initialized them there will be some training step and you will have some final values for those matrices and vectors. ठीक है? So let me develop those matrices. First W1 मैं कहता हूँ W1x है. So let me just for explanation से randomly set कर देता हूँ इसको. Random, इसका size क्या था? 3/6, right? Because the hidden layer was of size 3, input layer was of size 6. So this is the matrix that you get. ठीक है? Of course, जो final आपके पास होगा वही होगा, but just to explain कि usually जब हम initialize कर रहे होते हैं parameters, we would like the parameters to lie between minus 0.5 and 0.5. That is the ideal scenario. यहाँ मैंने random number generator 0 और 1 के दरमियान generate किया. So if I wanted to really get those values, I would simply subtract 0.5. ठीक है? तो similarly B1 मेरे पास है, तो random of size 3, ठीक है? minus 0.5 कर देता हूँ इसको भी. ओके, ये सही नहीं हुआ कि B1 इज इक्वल टू रैंडम, ये वेक्टर है, तो ये वेक्टर होगा हमारा 3, 1, minus 0.5. ठीक है? ठीक है, तो ये B1 हो गया. इसी तरह W2 को भी हम बना लेते हैं. ये रैंडम, इसके क्या था, इट वाज 6/3. ठीक है? आउटपुट लेयर वाज साइज 6, हिडन लेयर वाज साइज 3. इसको भी minus 0.5 कर देते हैं. तो B2 को कर लें, रैंडम 6, 1, minus 0.5. ठीक है? सो नाउ मेरे पास x, लेट्स से मैं लेता हूँ, लाहौर की मैं बात करता हूँ. लेट्स से लाहौर वाज, लेट मी फर्स्ट zeros, 6/1. ठीक है? तो x 1 इज इक्वल टू 1 कर दिया मैंने. तो ये मेरे पास इनपुट आ गई लाहौर के लिए. सो व्हाट डू वी डू, अब हमने फीड फॉरवर्ड करना है इसको. ठीक है? सो फीड फॉरवर्ड में क्या हो रहा है, you have basically have this operation. So उसमें मैं एक okay, so what do we have to do? So basically हमारे पास होना है W1 into x plus B1. ये हमारे पास ऑपरेशन हो रहा है. ऑफ कोर्स इसके ऊपर पे सिग्मॉइड भी लगेगा, but let me just show you कि ये ऑपरेशन सीधा. So W1 is a matrix multiplying with x plus adding with the bias there. So this is what you get, a vector of size 6. ठीक है ना? बट इसके ऊपर सिग्मॉइड भी लगेगा. तो बेसिकली जो मेरे पास आउटपुट आएगा हिडन लेयर का a, वो बेसिकली सिग्मॉइड फंक्शन वुड बी अप्लाइड टू ईच एलिमेंट ऑफ दिस वेक्टर. तो इसके लिए मैं एलिमेंट वाइज मल्टीप्लिकेशन कर रहा हूँ, तो आई पुट अ डॉट देयर, 1 plus exp minus w1 into x plus b1. ठीक है? So these are the 3 outputs of the hidden layer. And you notice that each of them is a value between 0 and 1 because sigmoid लगाया हुआ हमने. ठीक है? अब मेरे पास ये हिडन लेयर की आउटपुट आ गई A. अब मैंने हिडन से आउटपुट पे जाना है. ठीक है? अगेन द सेम ऑपरेशन होगा. अब मेरे पास सो आउटपुट पहले मैं कंप्लीट y लिख लेता हूँ. दिस इज गोइंग टू बी W2 into A plus B2, या y के बजाय कोई टेम्पररी वेरिएबल लिख देता हूँ B. ठीक है? क्या so this is now the 6th valued output of my output layer. अब इसके ऊपर softmax लगना है. Softmax, as I said, is a coupled function. ठीक है? So we will have to compute it for each node and then take divided by the sum of the outputs of all the other nodes. So B मैं फिर से लिख लूँ क्या? B नहीं आ रहा, एक सेकंड, क्या है? Just a second. So what did we have? B is equal to W2 into A plus B2. यहाँ क्या मसला चल रहा है? अच्छा ठीक है. Why was it option of causing issue? W2 into A plus B2. ठीक है, आ रहा है. ठीक है, तो P ठीक है, तो B मैंने ये कर दिया. ठीक है, अब इसमें लेट्स से मैंने पहले नोड की आउटपुट निकालनी है Y. So how would I do that? So basically पहला नोड मेरे पास जो होगा, हमने एक्सपोनेंशियल फंक्शन लगाना है exp. पहले नोड की वैल्यू क्या है? B1 है. ठीक है, डिवाइडेड बाय, वी हैव टू सम ऑफ exp फॉर द एंटायर वेक्टर B. ठीक है, एक्सपोनेंशियल सॉफ्टमैक्स फंक्शन ये होता है ना, नॉर्मलाइज सॉफ्टमैक्स. I think I have typed it wrong. exp B1 divided by sum exp B so where am I making mistake? exp B1 ये तो आ रहा है. ठीक है, तो ठीक है, इसको मैं L कर देता हूँ. ठीक है, तो डिनोमिनेटर में M जो है इट्स सम exp of P. ये नहीं चलता. हाँ ठीक है, तो बेसिकली नाउ जो पहला आउटपुट होगा L डिवाइड बाय M. ठीक है, सो नाउ दिस इज द आउटपुट फॉर द फर्स्ट नोड. इसी तरह सेकंड का भी निकलेगा, थर्ड का भी निकलेगा, फोर्थ का, फिफ्थ का, सिक्स का, और जो मैक्सिमम होगा दैट इज द बेस्ट लेबल फॉर दिस पर्टिकुलर आउटपुट. बस वी आर यूजिंग ए सॉफ्ट मैक्स. Okay, any questions here? So this was actually feed forward. We are assuming के आपने वो parameters learn कर ली during learning process. We are not talking about the optimization step. Optimization step is of course error backpropagation, and usually you will not be doing that from scratch. कोई आप code use करेंगे और वो आपको करके दे देगा. ठीक है. अच्छा, तो actually there are a few things, a couple of things I also want to mention with respect to Word2Vec. So far I have mentioned that we are using a softmax at the output layer. Softmax is computed after looking at the output of all the nodes, values of all the nodes, because you have to normalize. So if you think of a real Word2Vec problem, तो output layer में आपके पास जो size होगा output layer का, it usually be in the tens of thousands. ठीक है? So you will have to do this computation for any example. Let's say आपका input लाहौर था और output let's say is था. ठीक है? is का node की आउटपुट निकालने के लिए आपको बाकी सारे नोड्स की आउटपुट निकालेंगे, फिर नॉर्मलाइज करेंगे, राइट? और फिर जो भी डिफरेंस होगा विद द ट्रू वैल्यू यू बैक प्रोपेगेट. So this is computationally quite expensive. So what the people, original Word2Vec people did was they slightly modified this problem. And they said that, okay, we will consider it to be a binary classification problem. ठीक है? So Lahore और is का जो है हम sigmoid function इसको 0-1 कंसिडर करेंगे और सिर्फ इसी को हम अपडेट करेंगे, बाकियों को अपडेट नहीं करेंगे. सॉफ्ट मैक्स नहीं लगाएंगे. वी विल जस्ट अप्लाई सिग्मॉइड बाइनरी क्लासिफिकेशन के लिए. इफ दिस इज ट्रू इट शुड बी 1, इफ इट इज नॉट ट्रू दिस शुड बी 0. और जो बाइनरी क्लासिफिकेशन का बैक प्रोपगेशन है सिर्फ इसी नोड को अपडेट करेंगे. बट द प्रॉब्लम देन इज के फिर आपके पास नेगेटिव सैंपल्स भी होने चाहिए. So what they did was they randomly sampled some other examples. लाहौर के context में negative examples कौन से हो सकते हैं? So let's say लाहौर के example में negative हो सकते हैं. Let's say कोई ऐसा word जो typically नहीं आता लाहौर के context में. Let's say लाहौर I don't know, मतलब कोई और city नाम लिख लेते हैं. Let's say गुजरात. ठीक है? तो ये negative sample होगा. तो नेगेटिव सैंपल अब फिर हम गुजरात के नोड पे जाएंगे और गुजरात को भी अपडेट कर देंगे. इसी तरह कुछ हम नेगेटिव सैंपल्स लेंगे इस टारगेट के लिए. और सारे ऑफ कोर्स नॉट ऑल दोस टेंस ऑफ थाउजेंड, मे बी अ फ्यू हंड्रेड्स, बट दोज हंड्रेड्स आर रैंडमली सिलेक्टेड एंड अपडेट दोज. ऑफ कोर्स यूजिंग द सिग्मॉइड फंक्शन, नॉट द सॉफ्टमैक्स. बाइनरी क्लासिफिकेशन है. So if you do this, then actually हमारा पास जो डेटा सेट है बाइनरी क्लासिफिकेशन के, आपके पास फिर पॉजिटिव सैंपल्स हैं जैसे लाहौर के साथ इज था, इस तरह पॉजिटिव सैंपल्स होंगे. फिर आपने कुछ नेगेटिव सैंपल्स भी रखने हैं जिसमें फॉर एग्जांपल लाहौर गुजरात होगा. And obviously these negative samples would not be only a few hundred, tens of thousands या hundred of thousands नहीं होंगे. So this kind of reduces your computational power, computational complexity, and speeds up your learning of the neural network. So Lahore context के लिए कुछ positive examples. Positive examples, of course, those that are occurring your data, and negative examples, those that do not occur, but you are randomly selecting from your vocabulary. And then, of course, for all the other words as well. ठीक है? So this is basically the idea of negative sampling. So आप जब भी आप देखेंगे नेट पे भी skip gram with negative sampling. So this is negative sampling. But essentially originally problem वो multi-class classification problem है, उसको उन्होंने binary classification में कर दिया using negative sampling. ठीक है? So that's one thing. The other thing that I wanted to talk about, ये हमने skip gram discuss किया था. The other approach that was originally proposed, although now it's less commonly used, is called the continuous bag of words. ठीक है? So previously क्या था हमारे पास? Previously हमारे पास था target word input था और context word output था. In continuous bag of words, context word input है और target word output है. So you have flipped the classification. So now for any word, let's say मेरे पास जो sentence है Lahore is a city of gardens, तो इसमें फॉर एग्जाम्पल आपने टारगेट वर्ड लेट्स से इज लिया है, तो आपका उसका कंटेक्स्ट वर्ड एक लाहौर होगा, टारगेट वर्ड इज होगा. ठीक है? सो कॉन्टेक्स्ट वर्ड फिर लाहौर ए होगा, उसका टारगेट वर्ड इज होगा, सिंपली फ्लिप कर दिया. सो ऑफ कोर्स इन बोथ ऑफ दिस सेटिंग्स ज़्यादा कोई फर्क नहीं है, बट इट्स जस्ट अ डिफरेंट वे ऑफ लुकिंग एट द प्रॉब्लम. In skipgram, you predict the context word. In CBOW, you predict the target word. Or otherwise, both approaches run the same way. But nowadays, in practice, the skipgram ही use हो रहा है. But in the original paper, both of them were mentioned. Sure. Any questions? So now let's quickly look at a couple of other applications of feed-forward network. So we have talked about feed-forward. So feed-forward network से हमने word-to-vec learn किया. So it was a multi-class classification problem, but for simplification, we kind of converted into a binary classification problem and had this negative sampling idea. ठीक है? So हमने previously classification problem study कुछ की थी. For example, so sentiment classification है. तो sentiment classification में आपके पास इनपुट में यूजली एक डॉक्यूमेंट होता है या यूजली एक सेंटेंस होता है. ठीक है, इनपुट, ठीक है, यूजली एक डॉक है. सो आउटपुट क्या है हमारे पास? यूजली लेट्स से ओनली टू लेवल, लेट्स से पॉजिटिव नेगेटिव, बाइनरी क्लासिफिकेशन हो रही है. ठीक है. सो इस केस में आपका न्यूरल नेटवर्क किस तरह बनेगा? इनपुट में आपके पास आपने डॉक्यूमेंट की रिप्रेजेंटेशन डालनी है. So you can feed in, let's say, TF IDF representation if you want to. So doc representation क्या हो सकती है? So options क्या हैं? TF IDF हो सकता है, वेक्टर. ठीक है, पूरे डॉक्यूमेंट के लिए आपने एक TF IDF वेक्टर बनाया हुआ है. टर्म फ्रीक्वेंसी, इनवर्स डॉक्यूमेंट फ्रीक्वेंसी, ये हो सकता है. और यू कैन हैव इसके अलावा और क्या हो सकता है? बिकॉज वी नीड ए रिप्रेजेंटेशन फॉर द एंटायर document. And we are using a feed forward approach. We are not using a sequential approach. So another approach that is used is you can take the average of the embeddings of words in doc. So let's say document में 10 words थे, उन 10 words के जो भी embeddings थी उन सारों का average ले लें as a representation for this document. ठीक है. Of course, you can also concatenate word embeddings, but इसमें issue क्या आएगा? Different docs are of different size. तो उसको किस तरह handle करते हैं? Usually to handle that we have to do padding / truncation. ठीक है. So you fix the number of words. Let's say you say that the number of words in the document would be the first 50 words only. If a document is larger than 50, the remaining जो vectors हैं वो सारे zeros हो जाएंगे, padding हो जाएगी. If the document is smaller than 50, if the document is larger than 50, then of course truncate कर दिया आपने 50 words तक. If the document is smaller than 50 words, तो उसके let's say 30 words का, तो last 20 words की जो embeddings है वो सारी zeros हो जाएंगी. ठीक है. This is called truncation. This is called padding. एक truncation एक padding है. ठीक है, but of course इसमें loss of information कुछ होगी. So the other approach that I said was कि 50 आपके पास document size 30 है तो 30 embeddings का average ले लें. ठीक है. 60 है तो 60 का एवरेज ले लें एंड सो ऑन. So average may be, of course, loss of information hogi, but that's another approach. And of course, which approach would work best, you would probably have to try it out for your particular application. So TF-IDF भी एक approach है, average of word embeddings है, concatenation of word embeddings है. So you can try all of these as inputs. ठीक है? So of course, if you use embeddings, their size would be smaller. If you use TF-IDF, TF-IDF का size vocabulary size होता है. So embeddings होगा तो usually वो 300 होगा, 500 होगा, maybe 1000 होगा and so on. Of course, जब आपने concatenate किया तो फिर of course वो बड़ा होगा. एक वेक्टर 300 का 10 वर्ड्स हैं तो वो 3000 हो जाएंगे. So are you following me in this regard? ये समझ आ रही है बात? ठीक है. I'm assuming you are still understanding, although there are very few people who are attending this session. ठीक है. तो input would representation is an important aspect, and you will have to devise your input appropriately. Embeddings, of course, are richer, but then embeddings have this issue of how to present the embedding for a document. Of course, in the research literature, you will find other approaches. For example, doc to vec भी आपको एक approach मिल जाएगी, which builds a representation for a document as a vector. ठीक है. अभी तो मैंने simply ये बताया कि word vectors का average ले लें, but this one does it in a more, you can say, in a better way, but then of course you have to learn this. So that was sentiment classification, and in general, any other topic, let's say classification, email, spam filtering, सारों के लिए आप यही approach use कर सकते हैं. So finally, what about language modeling? So remember, we talked about language modeling earlier on as well, but then we talked about language modeling using a probabilistic approach, where we were looking at the preceding words and then predicting the probability for the next word. So you can also use a classification framework, a neural network, to do language modeling as well. And this is, of course, the neuro language model. Of course, today we are going to talk about the feed-forward approach, which is not the sequential approach. Later on, maybe in a couple of lectures, we'll talk about sequential modeling and sequential language modeling. So feed-forward में क्या होगा? Usually language modeling में क्या होता है? Input क्या होता है हमारे पास? Preceding words होते हैं, ठीक है? और output क्या होता है? Next word होता है, ठीक है? So preceding word का window आपको define करनी पड़ेगी, ठीक है? So window, of course, now we are using a neural network. We are not actually restricted to just the preceding words. आप following words भी use कर सकते हैं, ठीक है? Oftentimes, a particular word की prediction becomes better if you use the following words, ठीक है? So remember, language modeling, as we discussed earlier on, using Markov models or Bayes' rule, was a generative approach. A neural network is a discriminative approach. Discriminative approach में आप अपनी मर्जी से feature set कर सकते हैं. So that is why you are not restricted to only using the preceding word. You can also use the following words, or you can use other things as well. Let's say part of speech भी आप as a feature use कर सकते हैं for language modeling. ठीक है? तो let's say अभी ओके, लेट्स से मैं इनपुट कहता हूँ 2 preceding words and 2 following words. तो टोटल हमारे पास वर्ड्स कितने हो गए? 4 वर्ड्स हो गए. अब इसमें we will rather use we will not use one hot encoding because that is poor representation. We will rather use word embeddings because word embeddings have richer semantics already encoded into the representation. ठीक है? So 4 words हैं, उनकी embeddings हैं, तो you can simply concatenate them and feed it into the neural network. So आपके पास, let's say आपके पास एक embedding 300 length की है, तो 4 into 300 4 times 3 1200 लेंथ इनपुट होगी आपकी. ठीक है? एंड ऑफ कोर्स आउटपुट आपकी वो कैब साइज होगा. Remember, we have to predict the next word. So, predict the middle word in this case. And that word, कितने possible words हैं? Of course, the total vocabulary size. So, of course, here again, this is multi-class classification. ठीक है? So once you have learned such a neural network, then you can use it for language generation as well. So let's say कोई भी आपके पास set of words as input हैं, आपके पास output में over in the entire set of words एक distribution आ जाएगी. उसमें से जो most probable word है वो आपका next word होगा. You can output that. Once that word has been outputted, वो आप input में डाल के फिर next word generate करा लें, फिर next word generate करा लें until you have the entire sequence of word generated through the language model. So any questions? So we have completed chapter 7 now completely. And we will move on to chapter 8 in the next lecture. Actually, we can start today as well if you want, although we have about 10-12 minutes left. So the next chapter is on 2 applications in NLP, which is POS tagging and name entity recognition. So both of these are classification problems, but we will see that these classification problems depend heavily on their sequence order of input as well as output. So as such, they are sequence classification problems. So this would then lead us to our sequential neural networks. Actually, this will first lead us into hidden Markov models, which is the probabilistic approach, and then into sequential neural networks. And then, of course, sequential neural networks are then popularly used in other applications of natural language, like language generation, even language modeling that we just talked about. Neural language models sequential neural network से बनाते हैं. Machine translation, for example, summarization, for example, and so on. So all of those are done using sequential neural networks. ठीक है? So next in line is POS tagging, named entity recognition, and HMMs, hidden Markov models. And then after that, we'll talk about the neural network variants, neural network option for sequential modeling. So any questions? Okay, so is there anything else that you would like to discuss? थोड़े से ही लोग हैं आज. क्वेश्चंस तो ऑब्वियसली आप लोगों ने कोई नहीं आज पूछा पहले कंटेंट के बारे में. So your project deliverable I have already mentioned is due by the end of this month, which is an important deliverable in the sense that that would shape your implementation. And then of course the last deliverable would be the report and demo, which would be at the end of the semester. And we also have to resume our assignments as well. So I will talk with the TA to, I think assignment 3 or 4 we do have. We should get going with assignments.